All right, we are live on YouTube. Hello, Noob Reaction and Hostel Discourse fans. I'll send the link. I'm sending it over to the Hostel Bros group text because I know several of them wanted to join in. Oh, yeah.
Wait.
I love the chat thing is so nice on this version of Google Hangout. All right. No, Canaan, still and you can talk right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're not like
no.
All right.
So my philosophy on this live stream is it's the unedited version.
Oh, this is the behind the scenes. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's what I like.
You get the pre-recording and the post-talk, and it's just so much bonus content for all of our fans.
Only for paid subscribers, of course. Part of me is afraid that the room I'm in is echoey.
Have you guys started your audio recordings?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right, cool.
David, how do I know if a room is too echoey?
If it sounds echoey in person, it's going to be echoey on that crappy mic you have.
So should I?
Is that the room you're normally in?
No, I'm in my house. I've never recorded here.
Oh.
So I don't know where best.
Sounds fine through here.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
You just stick a blanket behind you like David does.
Yeah. Behind the curtain. Oh. Magic. Joe, is your phone charged and everything? You have storage?
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, there's lots to talk about, so we should probably just get started. Jacob, are you ready? You're muted.
Give me 20 seconds.
Okay.
I'm ready.
My tubers.
Wait, hang on. Okay, I'm ready.
Cool. Make sure your audio isn't too loud in your ears, that the microphone is picking it up.
Yeah.
Especially Canaan, I think yours usually picks up a little because your speaker is so close to the mic, maybe.
All right, I'm on 3 bars.
Does in these headphones, if I don't turn it down.
Okay, cool.
Check.
In the meantime,
test.
We can do our screenshots. Canaan, do you have any Star Wars memorabilia you want to hold up? You're not in it. That's better. Jeez, the thing is signed
by Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford.
How much did you pay for?
Bummer, because you don't even like Star Wars.
What?
You didn't like meet them and get them to sign it, right?
No.
Oh, that would have been sick.
Then how do you know it's really signed by them?
Yeah.
It's got a certificate of authenticity, but who knows how legit that is.
Make one of those.
I get your screenshot.
Who?
Joe.
Oh.
Pathetic.
Porgs.
Mike, screenshot.
And yeah, I want something that looks like a lightsaber. Can't find one.
Yeah, me too.
That's good enough. Cool. Okay, Jacob. Got it. Well,
Is that your phone or
cell phone lightsaber?
With the legit lightsaber.
Oh, a legit lightsaber.
Take this off because it will interfere with my audio.
All right, I'm ready. Once Mike sits down, start. I'm going to record now.
I am recording.
Check. Hey. Check.
Y'all hear
Check.
that?
Test. Welcome to Hostel Discourse.
Star Wars. Star Wars. Hey.
Test.
The quarter-minute critic.
The quarter-minute critic.
Mike, I sincerely enjoyed each one of those videos.
I did too.
So did
I
I.
appreciate it.
Are you still making them?
No.
Oh.
I moved on to bigger and better things. Not really. It just took more time than you'd think.
Yeah.
Maybe bigger things,
To make
but not
a
better
quarter minute.
things.
It took about an hour to make one of those. And
Oh.
Just think how long it takes to make an hour-long podcast.
well, it took an hour from conception to completion, but even that was if I was trying to do like a few a week. It was just a little too much.
All right, we got to clap. So clap in.
Wait. Okay, ready.
Okay.
Ready to clap.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. One more time. 3, 2, 1.
I love the clap.
My claps are going to
The
be
clap
weak
that
towards the
times
end
our
there,
sound.
but so it goes.
All right. I know you're just trying to avoid the popping. All right. I will get started. Well, first, we're going to do high-level reviews, then pretty much just talk about the movie. So there's lots to talk about. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to Hostel Discourse, episode 26. The Last Jedi premiered just a few days ago. We are now recording on the following Monday, but we have a lot to talk about concerning The Last Jedi and how it met or didn't meet our predictions from last week. First, let me introduce you to tonight's podcast crew. Back again, Mike Rohlfing, this time from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He's moving all over the country.
Let's go, Chrome Dome.
Let's go. And second, back from the Blade Runner episode, Canaan Smith from Colorado Springs.
May the force be with you. That's all I'm going to say.
And as always, Jacob Hunter from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
And last but not least, Joe Kuiper from, I know you're Sioux Falls.
Sheldon, Iowa.
Sheldon, Iowa.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
That's all.
All right, so I want to first go over our spoiler-free, high-level reviews, kind of first reactions to the movie when you stepped out of the theater. And since Canaan, you were not on last week's episode, I'd love to hear from you first.
Okay. Well, I went into the movie completely blind, and I wanted to go on the Star Wars ride, and I rode it, and I loved it, and I left feeling very excited and slightly annoyed with some things, but mostly just pretty stoked and excited. That's, I mean, should I go into more detail? That's like as spoiler free as I can go.
No, that's fine. Mike, what's your first reaction to the movie?
I enjoyed it. It has some really cool sequences. It has some moments I would cut. It's probably about 25 minutes too long, but I don't know, as a whole, it was fun. I went and saw it again.
And still will see it again? Or was it your second time?
We'll get to that eventually.
Oh.
Jacob, what did you think?
I'll hop on the too long train, and I'll up the ante and say that I think if you put me to the test, I could cut an hour off this film and still keep a pretty consistent critic review on Rotten Tomatoes, give or take 5%. So Disney hit me up. Other than that, this more than any Star Wars movie has, and I mean, I saw it last night, and my impression right now is that this movie came off as more of a cash grab than the other two, being Rogue One and The Force Awakens. And it's really got me thinking more about what Star Wars' role is. Are they actually trying to tell a story, or are they trying to hop on this train and just kind of really abuse their fans for those $12 to $20 every 2 years? So it's not a very happy picture that I've left with, but I'd be wrong to say there aren't some pretty great highlights in this film. And seeing it on IMAX, I got my $18 worth, I think.
But let me ask, did you feel that way right after you saw the movie?
No, it probably took 12 hours for that to sink in.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, so if you want the 10-minute reaction, was that just too long?
Yeah.
Interesting thoughts there. Joe, what were your thoughts on the movie?
For the record, I paid $6 for my showing and got a lot of bang for my buck.
Yeah.
But it was not an IMAX. I liked it a lot, and I think when I first left the theater, I was very impressed. And after dialoguing with friends, I have been jaded, and I think that is sad, but I like it. I'll get into the other stuff later.
Awesome. Yeah, so, I mean, I think my views on it are kind of a combination of a few of you guys. I definitely agree with Canaan. Super hyped right when I left, especially from the ending of the movie. I do definitely see the cash grab elements to the movie, and it kind of worries me the direction they're going to take subsequent Star Wars movies, and just like kind of the Marvel-ness, the Disney Marvel train that just felt like Star Wars just hopped on it a little bit in this movie, which worries me. But overall, I loved certain elements of the movie. I very much dislike certain elements of the movie, but I think the good outweighed the bad. In my mind, because I'm such a big Star Wars fan, I got some pretty cool stuff in there and I'm also happy that there's so much to talk about. And that's why I'm excited to do this podcast. So we can get into some details now. First, let me read the IMDb plot summary. It's very short. Rey develops her newly discovered abilities with the guidance of Luke Skywalker, who is unsettled by the strength of her powers. Meanwhile, the Resistance prepares to do battle with the First Order. So very generic. Directed by Ryan Johnson.
That's the plot. That's the plot summry.
It's also, I'd argue it's untrue.
Yeah, that is untrue. That's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
That's not even close.
They were trying to keep spoilers out of it, so they did that, but a little misleading maybe. So directed by Ryan Johnson, starring Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Mark Hamill, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, Andy Serkis. And right now, Rotten Tomatoes has it a 93% critic, 56% audience.
Painful.
IMDb has it
Really?
7.9 out of 10. So a lot to talk about there. I'd love to hear. We can kind of just step through the movie and just see where that goes from there. But we can start at the beginning of the movie, I guess. And one of the first scenes. No, feel free. You can go ahead, Canaan.
Can I just start with the first fundamental problem with this movie? There is no gap in time between episode 7 and episode 8. Huge problem, in my opinion. Completely missed opportunity to set up something completely epic, and instead of doing that, leading right into 8, we're just left with a flimsy plot line right from the very beginning. That's how I feel. And I think that's something that could have been very easy to do. And if you were looking at the previous movies, every single one of them has a significant lapse in time that is undetermined what happens. And I think kind of taking that out of this trilogy is really unfortunate.
I do think, though, Rian Johnson was kind of backed into a corner on that. He had very little to do with 7, and
well, yeah, but
did what he could with.
Still, I mean, okay, like
the movie ends with Rey sticking her hand out to Luke. They have to go back to that. You know how much of an outrage there would be if they didn't do that. So
I personally was enraged when I saw them go back to it. I was astonished. I thought that they should have been about 6 months into Rey and Luke training together. That's what I was imagining.
That would have given them a lot more freedom with the story, especially on the resistance side of things, because they could have set up something more interesting than the slow-mo space chase.
They would have already been at another base.
That could have given a little more precedence to Rey's abilities. Like, she had so much training from Luke already, and then he realized that she was getting way too powerful. It could have worked starting it later, I think, than immediately after, for sure.
Yeah, and then Luke has an opportunity to seem a little less, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but he is really forward with kind of the entire depth of his character from the second you meet him. He throws away the lightsaber. That's all you have to know about his entire character, which I guess to some might seem like a good introduction of him, but he's really static for like an hour and 30 minutes, I feel like, in that movie. And so I think that makes him seem a little boring. If instead he is reluctantly engaging in training this potential new Jedi and eventually is coming to some rough patches and then reveals more of why he's so reluctant, I think that's more development and a more dynamic arc for that character specifically.
So if they did start 6 months later than they did, do you think it'd be better to skip the whole curmudgeonly, hermity Mark or Luke that we saw for the first part of the movie?
Yeah, that's just not at all what I had pictured for Luke's character. And I mean, that's like one of the major problems that I personally have with the film is the portrayal of Luke. And that's not what I had in mind. I had in mind a master who was, maybe reluctant for good reason, but inevitably would see the necessity of training Rey and, move forward with it. And if it was just 6 months later, then the plot synopsis could actually say that Rey developed her abilities instead of magically becoming way stronger in the course of 2 days.
Yeah, you mentioning that you wish it started later, that reminded me, the title scroll was so weak because they were just describing like what happened at the end of the Force Awakens.
Exactly.
It had no new information in it, and so it just from the outset it made it seem like the scroll didn't matter. Like we didn't even need it because it was happening immediately after the Force Awakens, and they only put it in there because people would have been mad that it was a saga movie without the opening scroll, I think.
I would say that Luke had two teachers, Obi-Wan and Yoda, both of whom used almost the exact same tactic when he first met them, where like they're kind of this hermit living in the middle of nowhere. So like Luke's exposure to that, I think he was just kind of like being what his masters taught him to be, Like Obi-Wan's just living in the middle of the desert, Yoda's living in the middle of Dagobah, and they're both kind of just there. So I feel like that's what he was embodying. And I feel like that was a good use of that.
No, I agree with him being on Ahch-To by himself in solitude, but we'll get more into my feelings about Luke, as the movie progresses. This is only the first opening shot.
I feel like the other half of the story with Finn and everybody could have definitely had a huge time gap between them, but like the Rey thing, I was glad that they started so that we got to see Luke like that. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so the opening space battle, pretty awesome scene. They got to show off Poe's X-Wing fighter pilot abilities. It was a little interesting. I thought, like, wow, they're spending a lot of time on this girl who's kicking the remote to try to drop those bombs on the, what do they call that ship? That had a special name.
Juggernaut, was it?
The Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Um,
Generic.
And obviously it turned out that was just to try to create some more backstory for Rose.
I don't know.
But
I think that's an oversimplification. I had a blast for those first, I don't know how long, was that 10 minutes or whatever? That whole opening scene, I was really locked in. And like, I guess, I don't know if it serves the purpose of backstory. I thought, I guess they mentioned her name was Paige. And I surprisingly remember that because I liked her character so much just from seeing her struggle in that battle scene. I thought it was just a really cool, one of the best battle scenes I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it was good.
It was awesome.
The bombing, I thought it was really cool how they showed the few different bombers and one of them exploded, and so it was like a chain reaction blowing up the other ones. That was a pretty cool dynamic.
Brutal.
Showing Hux in the whatever First Order ship that was. This was the start of the Last Jedi comedy that stuck with me for the rest of the movie and made me turn to my wife and face palm way too many times. Post prank call with Hux. You know, like, it would be fine if this was an isolated incident, kind of like it was the intro in The Force Awakens when he was like, who talks first, you or me, to Kylo? But since this was one of 100 little jokes like this, it was just too much for me. So I guess we can kind of start talking about the comedy, because it's a big part of what a lot of people are complaining about for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a big part of Star Wars since the beginning. Maybe not quite to the extent of this movie, but I encourage you to go see it again with a not opening night crowd. And it makes a big difference. I saw it in a mostly empty theater today, and those moments didn't seem quite as face palmy or out of the blue when there wasn't like 500 people laughing at it. Then you'll find the exact reverse thing. I think I told you guys on a previous podcast, or maybe I've just mentioned in person, that I went and saw A New Hope with the orchestra playing the music live in New York City, and the number of just like hoots and hollers and laughs and that occurred during that movie were more than I would ever even imagine watching A New Hope. So, like, sure, there are moments like that in this new movie, but I think depending on the context of when you're watching it, it can kind of change how you feel about those things.
Yeah.
My premiere night theater was very quiet, and I don't even remember anybody laughing at any of the jokes. I know I wasn't, so I don't think that influenced my perspective on them, but I know how I could see how it could if you were in a opening night screening room like that.
And for the most part, I enjoyed those things. So bring it on.
Yeah, I actually was pretty okay with most of the humor. I thought some of it was a little out of place, but most of it I did kind of think was pretty Star Warsy, and you know, it's always been slightly cheesy.
Oh, it's always been incredibly cheesy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, slightly.
I noticed today on second viewing that Poe's not calling him Hux; he's calling him Hugs. He's calling him. He's calling him General Hugs.
The thing I think that put me over the edge as far as hating the humor was BB-8 coming out in the ATST when I thought it was going to be DJ like redeeming himself and saving them, and it was BB-8 again, just like doing something totally out of his realm of possibility, and I was just like, are you kidding me? No, please, why are you doing this? It just like there were so many little things like that. I thought it was funny when BB-8 had the box over him as a trash can. That was kind of funny. The little nuns or maids, whatever you would call them, on the island with Luke, Joe holding up a Porg picture. The Porgs weren't too bad, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
I didn't like the Porgs.
Dude,
They were a little
it's all
overused.
just the more BB-8 there is on screen, like it. I would love to run a regression analysis on the time BB-8 is on screen and correlate it to the number of BB-8 action figures are sold. Like the more he's on screen, they are making insane money on selling all the T-shirts and the action figures. There's no reason why an executive would greenlight having DJ, a character, actually get redeemed in one of these movies when they can just plug their cute little plastic figure into that walker. And so like you, David, I was not stoked about that scene. It's for that reason. Like that is one of the prime examples of why I eventually am now at this point where I'm like, yeah, they're just trying to make more money, and they're not caring about telling a good story.
I have come to a similar conclusion, but I've also kind of don't care.
Then they win. Oh man, then they have the greatest business model of all time.
They already have done it. They've been doing it.
How did you guys or anyone notice the blue milk reveal with the little udder guys?
See, I thought that was more of like a green milk.
Maybe it was.
Is that a throwback to?
Yeah, it's what Luke drinks in the New Hope or A New Hope.
and what what's her name had on her home planet at the beginning of Rogue One.
Yeah. Yep.
Not that cool of an Easter egg.
Little fan service.
It didn't really look like blue. It didn't look the same to me. I will just say I think that they're different types of milk.
That's such a like. Is that actually supposed to be a throwback to?
That's why I don't think it is supposed to be a throwback. I think it's just what Luke drinks on that
Yeah, I
island.
would hope.
Luke's crazy hermit antics definitely reminded me. I mean, I don't know if I've even seen a movie that has this specifically in it, but it probably exists out there, of like this old samurai master just like being weird on his island fishing and doing all this little.
Yeah, it is like Yoda.
That's true.
All right, wait. Okay, so where are we at in the movie?
We talked about the first space battle. I guess we can talk about Luke and Leia on the island. I think they cut to that next.
You just said Luke and Leia. Luke
What?
and Ray.
Luke and Leia.
Okay.
I loved that he threw the lightsaber over his shoulder. Loved it.
I thought that was right.
After 2 years of anticipation of what's going to happen next, they just completely squashed it. Everyone was expecting some dramatic speech about the Force, or
He instantly knights her. He has her.
yeah,
kneel,
that, or him say "my daughter" or whatever, and he just throws it over his shoulder. I thought that was fantastic.
I thought that was a good representation of what he did with the rest of the movie too. Because like the whole thing, it was basically like doing new things, and I think everyone had these preconceived notions, and he was like, "No, that's wrong," and I'm going to start the movie off with this to prove it. I like that.
Yeah.
I did like that he threw the lightsaber over his shoulder, even though I didn't like that the movie, or that was the opener for Luke and Rey. I thought that was right. I think that's what he would do. Or that,
What did you think? What did you think of the training or lack thereof of the 3 training lessons that he said he's going to teach her?
See, that's where it's like that's so weak. It's so weak. Such a small amount of training, no saber training. I know that Rey already has an amount of melee combat skill, but come on, we need some saber training, or she did train on her own, but the whole thing just seemed very weak to me because of the fact that they weren't there for very long.
Especially when Luke reacts to her like first reaching into the Force, and he says, "You went straight to the dark, and you didn't even try and resist." And then literally just keeps teaching her, and like a few things later, she leaves. Like they just didn't address how she was so dark side. You know, they were like, "Oh, you're so dark side," but then she was fine the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and she calls him out on it. She says, "And where were you? I didn't see you anywhere."
Yeah,
and yeah, he's total give up that whole movie.
Yeah,
he had cut himself off. See, yeah, when she went to the dark, like it didn't seem that dark. It was like, okay, what? That's the dark side. Holy shit, that's like
you looked in some elevator mirrors.
So
yeah.
Oh, okay. Woo! I went to the spooky haunted house. Come on, the dark side is fucking evil. Okay, it's effing evil. Sorry, YouTubers.
Laser bolt.
Pew. Porg noise.
So to me,
Tim's on chat.
Yeah, he is. Hello, Tim. So to me, the lack of lightsaber training is kind of like disrespectful to the art of lightsaber fighting. It's like Rey, yeah, she can use a staff that she taught herself on Jakku, but like there should be something more to learning how to use the Force with a lightsaber. Like Mike was saying on last episode, like Han could barely even pick up Luke's lightsaber to cut open the tauntaun, much less fight with it. And like training yourself with a stick compared to a lightsaber should be a different thing because the lightsaber is connected to the Force in some mystical way. I just don't like how they kind of glossed over that, and Rey is just automatically amazing with everything having to do with the Force.
The Force has awakened.
See, and that it does say something about the Force Awakens in the sense that, you know, it really is that powerful in her character from the very get-go, but she can't use a lightsaber. No. You're right, David. It just makes me angry. It makes me angry because now it's like, what is the little kids doing training with a lightsaber in episode 2? What are they doing training from that little young age if you can just pick up a lightsaber when you're 19 and be a pro?
Yeah.
Didn't help him against Anakin. Too soon.
I think Ryan. There's a lot that was like not, like it was completely overlooked.
Dude, you're mentioning Rian Johnson. It makes me think, like, I know the original cut was like 3 hours long or something crazy. I wonder what they cut, and if with those extra 30 minutes, if that was the training that we wanted to see, if that was training with Kylo and Snoke, like what was cut to make this 2.5 hours instead of 3 hours, and why wasn't it the 30 minutes with Finn and Rose that was cut?
They decided what was important, and they decided that the casino planet was the important part of this movie, and is what you really needed to see and take away from this Star Wars film. Is like not even the B plot, the C plot on the spare casino planet. That's what got to make the cut instead of the Jedi training.
That's bad. That's bad.
Speaking of Snoke and Kylo, so I was disappointed that we didn't get to see him. I mean, the only thing Snoke did with Kylo was verbally abuse him some more. But
a little bit of Force powers.
Yeah,
he was very mind ready of any Force user. I feel like, is he not the most omniscient of any of them? I mean, he couldn't see his own death, but
he seemed to be the most powerful in that particular way. I thought his lightning seemed very powerful as well.
Yeah, cool to see more of.
A little short burst. Yeah, I was enjoying Snoke, and I thought that he seemed cool. The CGI looked good, like way better than I expected from the hologram from The Force Awakens, and Andy Serkis was doing a good job. But once he got killed so abruptly and we find nothing else about him and why he's so powerful, it just kind of like made the character pointless to me because we don't know anything about him, why or how he got into power and how he's such a powerful Sith, or even if he is a Sith or not. He mentioned balance in the Force, which is not something a Sith would mention. They're usually all about the dark side. What did you guys think of Snoke in this movie?
I thought he was sweet, and I loved the way he died, and I don't really care.
Yeah. See, I originally I felt exactly that way, but I have different feelings now.
I mean, did we know anything about Palpatine?
He has quite the backstory.
Yeah, but he didn't when Return of the Jedi came out.
No,
Well,
no.
okay, so then, I feel like then Star Wars was still so new. If you're talking about the original trilogy, the characters aren't so set in the audience's mind like they are now when you go in to see Episode 8. And no one really cared about that. I feel like he's just a super old guy, so you assume he's been around long enough and he's learned all this stuff. But now I think we've been tailored to be an audience that when we go into a Star Wars movie, things need to be a lot more interconnected, and you're supposed to get all of the backstory for all these things. I mean, we never learned about we wouldn't ask the same questions about Yoda, to give a counterexample, right? So, well,
I mean, we might, but we obviously don't demand it to be revealed in the trilogies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess that ends up being more of a point to agree with Mike, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what originally I was like, yeah, fuck. Okay, gosh dang it. Screw the Snoke theories. Screw all these people with all their crazy conspiracies about who Snoke is. Just kill him. I loved it. I seriously was like, yes, that's sick. But then now that I think about it, it really, really limits the possibilities for the next movie, I feel like. Although it does, it maybe portrays Kylo as more of an evil supreme leader character, but I just don't. To me, that's not who Kylo is. He's still a very, very hurt and in pain Ben Skywalker. Absolutely, clearly, visibly shown in the movie.
Yeah, and that scene with Kylo, Rey, and Snoke. I mean, I loved Kylo in every scene in this movie, and I think that like seeing him abused by Snoke even more, and then him deciding to kill him, that just establishes Kylo as an even better character. I absolutely loved Kylo in this movie. He was one of the best parts. Just like the huge mysteries from The Force Awakens that weren't answered in this movie was just a little unsatisfying to me.
Absolutely.
Even if they were meant for some of them to set up something more in the third movie, like Kylo could have been lying to Rey about her parentage, you know, like we don't know for sure that her parents were just crackheads on Jakku or whatever. But the Snoke theories, people are so excited to learn about it. They cut that away. We were so excited to see, you know, Rey's parents. They're nobody. They just did that so many times. And a couple of times, I know they're trying to get that point across, like, let go of the past. It's all about the future now.
Right.
It just
Which
didn't
I feel
work
like is almost like just a plea from Rian Johnson, like, or from Disney, maybe whoever it's from. Just go easy on us. Go easy on us. Let it die. Like let the new thing come. And in some ways, I was like trying to do that, but it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was if it was on the podcast last week or if it was afterwards, but we were talking about Snoke, and I said something like if whatever they reveal him to be is not going to be that big of a surprise anyway, because he's not going to be Mace Windu, he's not going to be Palpatine, reincarnate. He's not going to be. Yeah, so I was glad they didn't try to shoehorn him in as Darth Plagueis the Wise or whatever it could have been, because anything wouldn't have been like an exciting twist. So why not just cut him in half in a really cool way?
See, but also, why not just keep him alive until episode 9 when...
Because he's a lame villain.
Yeah, exactly.
He's so freaking lame. Like there's nothing outstanding about him except his ugly face.
Okay, I get that, but just now, who do we have? We have Hux and Kylo, which is...
I sympathize with that because I have no excitement for a sequel to this movie.
Yeah.
Well, now that Kylo Ren is not so much of a villain as we thought him to be, which I'm okay with that. It just leaves us no great fight because past Snoke, the First Order is the most generic evil army you could ever think of. There's no investment. The only evidence we have that the First Order is actually evil is, okay, yeah, they blew up the planets. But from this movie, the only evidence we have that the First Order is evil is the fact that that Rose tells us that her and her sister were abused by them. It's only hearsay.
The Finn being taken from birth. They blew up 5 planets.
That's not in this movie.
Still.
Sure, yeah, you can get a little bit more if you look past this movie, but I'm saying like the First Order, it's just lame. It's rehashed and there's nothing new about it, which is why now it gets more to like why Kylo Ren is the best part of these new movies. Like he's done with the First Order basically, and
do you not think he's like all bad now by the end of 8?
No, he's not all bad because it was so great. Just like I love seeing a character become clear in their vision, and his did do that, in that he's like, everything I hate is what is old. I just want to destroy everything old. I want to destroy Luke Skywalker, my mom, my dad, Emperor Snoke. I want to destroy the Millennium Falcon, the Jedi Order, the Sith, anything old. It's done. The only way you can realize your destiny is to push forward and let the past go, even if you have to kill it. And I can get behind that, especially in a movie series that's coming on 50 years old.
I'm going to warn Jacob's parents that it might be
you know what? That was too strong, and I want to redact a little bit of that. But the general sentiment, I do want to stay true.
Yeah, I agree that the First Order is not exciting whatsoever to me, especially going into episode 9 without having Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo.
They have nothing.
Want to do anything with them. I mean, the only place where I think they could take like the villain half of the story in episode 9 is for Kylo or for the Knights of Ren to actually be a thing, and for Kylo to have some sort of like Sith council with the Knights of Ren in episode 9. You know, it's just like that's the only thing I can think of where they're going to take the villain side of things, because the First Order is not going anywhere.
Unless those red guys were the Knights of Ren.
I hope they weren't the Knights of Ren.
I was thinking that. Like, what are those things? Are they robots? Are they human?
I bought one of those. I bought the Black Series guard. My one action figure from this movie.
Oh man! Oh my gosh!
Cool scene. It does bring up easily probably my favorite scene in the movie, which was the big fight scene where Rey and Kylo team up on the Red Guards. I don't know if everyone else felt the same, but
no,
that was not my favorite, but it was good.
Oh. Great choreography, and just like the redness of the room looked really cool, and swapping the two lightsabers. So I was blown away with how cool that choreography and fighting was.
The one guard falls into that pit and gets shredded into pieces, and
that's cool.
The red canvas around the perimeter starts like dissolving away and catches on fire, and you see space in the background. It was.
Yeah, the blowing up spaceships, and that was so cool.
Yeah, my biggest complaint about this movie, and I'm not one to dive deep intellectually or theoretically as some of you guys are, but that's not a true statement.
No, it's very true.
Is how often they cut around between storylines.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as that lightsaber fight starts with Kylo and Rey and Snoke, there's this beautiful wide shot pushing in on them as the Red Guards attack them, and it goes on for about 4 seconds until it cuts away to, I don't know, to whoever else is elsewhere. I wish they would have just let more scenes play out. That's one of my bigger complaints, just structurally. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And to add on that, like the slow-mo space chase that seemed to last way too long, like unrealistically long, kind of was a result of cutting around so much. And since there are so many storylines, it made the time in between when they went back to that ship in space seem like, what have they been doing this whole time? They're just getting pounded in their back shield, and no TIE fighters are getting sent out of those First Order ships to just hit them from the sides. So that kind of made that storyline even worse, the cutting around so much.
Not that it necessarily justifies it, but there is a line where they say, get out of range, and then the fighters will fall back. I guess they can only go a certain distance from the Star Destroyer. I don't know. I'm just saying they tried to justify it somehow.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't pick up a sense of what you were talking about, Mike, until the very end, when really, I mean, they cut away from that fight, but in Snoke's chambers 2 times, 3 times. They cut away to the most stagnant B plot of all time with that standoff in space. And so, yeah, I'm as far as that, I'm just left wondering why. Like, can you think of any reason why that adds to this movie? Or like, because if anything, I feel like Disney movies tend to bring on too much action too fast. So you think there's rumors like you're supposed to have an action scene every 20 or 30 minutes. Like these actual like rules that come down to these directors and stuff. But like, why cut away from the action to get stale dialogue?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, Canaan, you look like you're taking this pretty rough.
Canaan's been looking so sad this whole time.
Yes.
Canaan, you're allowed to enjoy it. You're allowed to enjoy it without.
No, I did enjoy it. Like so. To be completely honest, I mean, I could literally rant. I could do this whole rant for an hour. There's 2 parts of me that when I go and see a movie, I suspend the critical thinker and the filmmaker and the storyteller in me and become, the 6-year-old kid that first saw A New Hope in theaters again. So, like I said, when I left the movie, I was so stoked and I loved the movie and I had a great time watching it, and it was really fun and it was awesome in Star Wars. 12 hours later, I wake up and I start to think about it. Cole gives his whole rant about it, which is pretty spot on it's like pretty spot on, most of it. I just and I even recognized a lot of that while I was watching the movie. I just wasn't that upset about it at the time. I was like really hyped on the movie. As I think more and more about it, I become more and more aware of these flaws and the kind of the Disneyfication of the franchise, for sure, with the amount of humor, the amount of animals that are in there, the easily marketable characters such as BB-8 and the Porgs, and it just really I had a feeling it was going a different way. And the reason why I had a feeling it was going a different way is because J.J. Abrams did such a fucking good job of it in episode 7. He did not do anything that was over the top. He did not do anything that would have stepped on a Star Wars fan's toes. He made it a clean-cut, good, Star Wars feeling movie. And then I feel like I truly feel like this one just kind of shits all over it.
Yeah, but this is where like that's such a contradiction in so many ways, because we sat for an hour and a half and talked about how much The Force Awakens was exactly the same as A New Hope, and now they actually made something different, and now everyone's saying that it sucks because it's different.
No, see, and that's the thing. Like, okay, it doesn't suck because it's different. It sucks because it sucks. The plot sucks.
Yeah.
The space battle is unbelievable. It's literally unbelievable. I do not believe it for 1 second. Also, why not turn the ships around and fuck up their whole fleet right away after the ships got off? If that was what you could do, there's so much wrong with it. And the only thing, the biggest, it comes down to the problem of messing with the timelines of the movies. Why not put a little gap? Why not just put a little gap, have the First Order build up their forces so we can actually have a sick, villainous force, have the Resistance build up their forces so that we can actually have a fleet that's more than like 3 ships and like a couple fighters. What the hell? It's seriously messed up. It seriously is like completely weak. And Disney did it. I can't believe it. They made a weak-ass movie when they could have gone completely the other way and gone over the top. They could have had 20,000 Star Destroyers and 20 million TIE Fighters if they wanted. But no, they make like a fleet of... There's 12 Resistance fighters left, and there's not even a First Order fleet. There's like a ground legion. Because the fleet got taken out by one Resistance cruiser. Like, it is so bad.
So funny. That's a really funny way to put it. Yeah.
Mike, I think to answer what you said and kind of add on to what Canaan said, like, we wanted something new because The Force Awakens was so similar. We wanted like new ground broken with the Force, like learning new things. And I think we got that, like the Force projections and the communication between Kylo and Rey, and Luke projecting so hard that he died. Like that's all new stuff with the Jedi and the Force that was awesome. And like that's the new stuff that I wanted. Awesome. And like the new battles and like different ways of fighting and Kylo not being good or evil. And like that's all groundbreaking stuff that's adding to the lore of Star Wars. But pretty much every other thing in the movie that isn't about Rey and Kylo and Luke just like sucks. Like, oh, like why couldn't they make it all good or cut out 30 minutes of it with? We haven't even talked about Finn and Rose yet because I don't even think we need to, because I don't want this just to be an hour of complaining, but it's so bad. And there's not been a Star Wars movie. Whatever. The prequels 1 and 2, there's stuff that is so bad in them. This movie also had stuff that was just as bad. And I feel like the critic ratings are really confusing right now because the critics have 93%. Audience is split. Like, I feel like they're feeling the same things that we're talking about. Half of them don't care. They just like, oh, cool. It's fun. A fun movie. I'm really curious to see in a year what the consensus is on this movie, because I really don't know. And I'm excited to see it a second time too.
Some of that stuff didn't seem quite as egregious on a second viewing once you kind of know what to expect. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Such a weird thing to say, yeah.
But it's true. I mean,
kind of like watching episode 1, you know what to expect when it comes to Jar Jar.
Yeah, right. So you just kind of ignore it. I mean, like the only, for example, I know everyone's railing on the casino sequence, and it's deserved. But second viewing, because I knew what was going to happen, I actually appreciated like the creature design and the incredible production design. And the only part of that like really irked me was those last two lines, which if they would have just cut Finn Rose saying, "I'm so glad we destroyed that," and then they send the horse off, the horse bunny, and then Rose says, "Now I'm glad," or whatever those. They just cut those two lines, and honestly, it wouldn't have been near as bad. There's just like little things that could have been done, and little things you can kind of, I guess, look past.
Yeah.
That benefited in some way.
Yeah. For me, and this isn't totally tied in, but I thought that there was a really strong idea introduced with DJ as far as war and the weapons dealers and Finn being confronted with the idea that maybe there's no good side. That is a good thing to have in a Star Wars movie. It is totally disregarded.
Yep.
I feel like, I mean, the guy they apparently thought was good ended up being bad in the end, and he stayed true to the character they outlined him to be in that. He's kind of apathetic. He's like, sorry, someone made a better deal. But Finn, for as shocked as Finn was on that ship when he's seeing the records of the TIE fighters and the X-Wings both on that ship's logs, he turns around and willingly sacrifices his life for a military cause. It's a disregard of what was a pretty solid scene. And so that was, sorry if that was kind of a tangent, but that was a big takeaway I took from that movie, or from that scene, I guess.
That's a good point. Like, that could have, you know how he's deserted twice. So once in The Force Awakens, he's going to desert. In this movie, he's going to desert. That could have been even more cause to push him to just like leave the war entirely. And I don't know what they would have done with his character then, but that's a good point. Like, what would make most sense for him, considering what we've seen from him in the past, is for that to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I'm not going to participate in this war anymore.
Yeah.
I actually kind of want that plot line to be utilized in episode 9. And I kind of want DJ to come back and like, maybe the First Order isn't as bad and like gray lines more. I think that would be interesting. But I really enjoyed DJ, and I think a lot of people have kind of bashed him, and I don't agree.
Going off of this, I will say that I did think that it was really awesome that this movie was more revealing of the realities of warfare, and being from the very beginning when we see the readout of the fleet and the ships that have the X over them are all dead, and a lot of them are that's like a huge portion of their fleet that is gone. Leia brings it up multiple times. Then it is shown by DJ that there's the people that are profiting off of it they don't care about the actual war. They're living in a separate existence. This is the realities of life on Earth right now that it is being shown in a Star Wars movie, which I think is really important and relevant. And to be honest, I was a little bit surprised to see it in a Disney movie, something that blunt. But that was cool. And I also, one thing that I thought was really cool was Luke's second lesson to Rey, where he explained that the Force didn't exactly belong to the Jedi, and it would continue on with or without the Jedi. And I think that was an important message to put out there in Star Wars. And I think it's awesome that's awesome that Luke had come to that conclusion in his isolation. But I don't agree with all of the other things, such as potentially the instinct to kill Ben. I don't know if that would have been there for Luke, but that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I don't even know the fact that the movie points to characters being more in the gray area is really cool.
Yeah, that reminded me. So the Yoda scene,
Oh yeah,
Luke's gonna burn the Jedi Order books and that tree down, and we think that the books are destroyed. Like Yoda says something like, "Forget the past, look into the future, whatever." And then it shows that Rey put the books in the Millennium Falcon briefly at the end of the movie. So like, doesn't that kind of undermine that theme if like the Jedi Order isn't actually done? Like Rey took the books.
Oh yeah, I mean, Luke was explicit in his dying wish. He told Kylo Ren he will not be the last Jedi.
And Yoda knew that she took the books.
yeah. Yoda knew. That's why he burned the tree.
Yeah, but
just to
he
mess
knew.
with
He
Luke.
also said that it was time for the Jedi Order to die.
Yeah, and I think that we might just see like a new type of Jedi, potentially a gray Jedi, or a more neutral or independent Jedi. It's the fundamentalism behind the Jedi Order that needs to die. It's not the ideals of the Jedi or even the teachings of the Jedi. It's the fundamentalism and hypocrisy of the Jedi Order.
Yeah,
itself.
I think that's why Luke, he's specific to use the word religion when describing
Yes.
the Jedi in kind of the first conversation he has with Rey. So I guess that's good. I guess that theming does check out, and there might be some room there, but doesn't mean that we wouldn't have benefited from maybe 15 more minutes of exploration into the Jedi ideas and what that means for Rey.
Gosh, I would have loved that so much. That would have been so awesome. And the dark side. Give me some Snoke and Kylo training.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Did anybody figure out that Luke was a projection before the big reveal the first time you saw it?
I recognized that his hair and beard was different.
Yeah.
But I did not predict that he was a projection. I just thought maybe coming back to the fight reinvigorated his youth or something like that. I don't know.
Once he got blown up by literally every blaster bolt possible, I knew that either A, Disney was the single worst movie maker in history, or B, that he wasn't real. So
even if that
so
was
mad.
I thought it was cool that he was that powerful. I didn't mind.
that would be absurd.
Yeah,
It could have created a force barrier around him. He could have totally, even if he was there, I think he would have survived that.
it was my first thought. The projection. Yeah.
Kylo could stop one laser bolt in The Force Awakens. Luke could have stopped all of them if he, this like, I thought it'd been cool even if he wasn't a projection.
I was a little confused when he showed up after they said there were no other entrances to this place, but I didn't think hard enough about it to figure that out.
Yeah. I don't know, like.
I just
Joe.
wanted to say that one scene I did like was when the rebel guy's in the trench and he like rubs the dirt. He's like sand, and then it just cuts away.
Salt
or salt, whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, something just it was so cheesy.
So
and
dumb.
The guy-
That is
right
so
next to him.
dumb.
The guy right next to him was the director of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, like why?
Is the
It's a show. It's not snow, guys. We're not copying Empire. It's not
Right.
snow.
yeah. When you couldn't have just said, "See that planet over there, Poe?" While we're in the ship, see that planet through the window. That's
It's
a salt mine.
planet. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't say that. You just had to have one guy go down there and be surprised. The most bland surprise ever, I might add.
Yeah, here's one thing, Canaan. Maybe your knowledge of the Force can help clarify this.
Okay.
One thing that I noticed on viewing number 2, which does not ruin the movie for me, but I was just curious, is so Luke is using his Force powers to convince everyone that he's there on that planet, correct?
Yeah.
And C-3PO sees him.
Okay.
are droids affected by the Force
Well,
as well?
yeah, of course. At the end of The Force Awakens, it's clear that R2D2 is somehow affected by the Force. Somehow affected by the Force. I believe that, yes, the Force would find a way to interact with mechanical.
Okay. All right. Just
Force
wanted-
speak
It's not even
binary.
like, how can we say like mechanical what? Intelligence? Like, droids confuse me in Star Wars because of what Obi-Wan says in Episode 2. When he says, if droids can think, then none of us would be here. Well, I'm like, okay, well, then what are R2-D2 and C-3PO doing? They're not thinking. They obviously are thinking. They have to be thinking. They're making their own decisions. They're their own characters. So that is a whole different thing. But I would imagine that C-3PO could still interact with Luke in that form.
And also, what's the over under on those gold dice showing up in the Han Solo movie in May?
Definitely gonna. Yeah, that's a definite.
Does anyone else remember who Force created the dice at the end?
I think that Luke gave the dice to Leia. Leia left the dice in the base, knowing that Kylo would find them. Then the dice disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about Carrie Fisher. So, presumably her last movie, unless they have a CGI version of her briefly and kill her off in Episode 9.
Did they not talk about having some sort of footage that they didn't use in Episode 8 that they were potentially going to hang on to?
I think they're going to CGI her.
No, I actually read an official statement from Rian Johnson today, if you'd like me to read it.
Yes, please.
This interviewer asked him if they considered changing Leia's fate in Episode 8, because they filmed everything with her before she died for 8. They could have had her switch roles with Laura Dern and crash the Star Destroyer, or they could have, not had her Superman back into the ship.
Right.
Into that in a moment. But so Rian Johnson said, sure, I could make those changes. I had the discussion with Kathleen Kennedy when we came back from New Year's after Carrie Fisher passed away, and we looked through the scenes. We decided, and I feel very strongly, that even though it was going to be tricky in terms of how you handle it in the next chapter, we have this last performance from her. I couldn't see of any way of engineering something like what you're talking about, which is what I was just referring to, those different changes, without losing the scene with her and Luke, or the scene with her and Rey at the end, or the scene with her and Holdo, who is Laura Dern. And then we'd be manufacturing something which would be manufactured and not great. And I just felt like those scenes are such potent goodbyes for her. I felt like we all deserve to have them up on the screen. And it's such a beautiful ending, the fact that she kind of gets the last word in the movie, and that the last word is of hope. We have everything we need. I want Princess Leia to tell me that right now. I want Princess Leia to tell me that right now. So we decided to stick with that. And that was there. So, and they've also said that they are not going to have her in 9 in any way. So,
wow, holy cow! So then inevitably there's a little time gap between 8 and 9.
Well, and 9 will probably start with like a dual funeral or tri-funeral. Luke, Leia, Han. I don't know.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna bawl my eyes out.
Mind the floating in space Superman thing.
I didn't mind it.
I thought it was kind of cool.
I didn't mind it. I thought that Leia should have some sort of force abilities.
And again, the second time it wasn't near as jarring or weird because I knew it was coming, and it didn't feel quite as strange.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of nowhere. I think her force abilities are more they're more apparent in the last movie, and now she's very aware when people die or when bad stuff's happening. But it would be, I don't know how much disbelief you're allowed to have in a Star Wars movie, but mine was, I had a hard time suspending it when no one wanted to ask her about her force abilities or really push her on the matter that she is able to move things around. So maybe they knew the whole time and they never really needed it from her.
Yeah.
But it's another example of something that happened, was important, and then got ignored, I felt.
Also, her daughter was she was in a lot of scenes with the Resistance. Did anybody notice
Her
or
real
not
life
notice
daughter.
if you didn't know who she was?
Her real life daughter, not her movie daughter.
The
Yeah.
blonde girl?
Yeah.
I did not notice, but I didn't know she
No
was...
wonder I thought she was. No wonder I thought that person was a bad actor.
She has like little, pigtail things.
Yeah.
I'm glad, Canaan, I'm glad that you didn't know it was her and you still thought she was a bad actress, because I just thought I was noticing her too much because I knew who she was. But yeah, she wasn't doing so hot.
Yeah, I didn't think she was great. And
Was she the one with
I definitely did
Poe?
not know.
Like Poe's friend that was helping. Was that who it was?
She was always like at the computers saying things, and she had like little pigtail ball
Yeah.
hairball things.
In like
She
the final
lied about
scene
the-
when they knock out Poe and they break into the like bridge, she's standing there and she like backs up or whatever after Poe gets knocked
Yeah,
out.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I will say the one character that I really didn't even on second viewing, was what's I don't even know her character's name. Laura Dern.
Rose.
Jurassic
Oh.
Park lady,
Yeah.
She gives the most generic speech ever.
Holdow?
And it was so sad that Admiral Akbar disappeared with just like one little line saying, "Oh yeah, Akbar was gone." If they would have had Admiral Akbar as the one ramming that Star Destroyer or that rebel ship into the Star Destroyer, that would have been one of the greatest Star Wars moments.
That would have been right here in the chest. Yeah, F the new character. Give me Admiral Akbar suicide run.
And they had to give you this lady who was just a jerk, who honestly I didn't think she did a very good job as an actor.
No.
And all of a sudden she's this hero who saves everyone by doing one of the coolest things that's ever been done with a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been much
Coolest
better.
shot.
Very sick shot.
That would have been much
And-
neater if Admiral Akbar was doing that.
The
Also-
audio, it had a hint of Jango Fett's Slave 2 or Slave 1 bombs. The oh, it's so good.
So cool. I can't wait to watch that again on
That
maybe.
was awesome.
Okay, so I'm glad we brought up Akbar.
Sonic pulses.
Rest in
I kinda
peace. Rest in peace, Admiral
Rest in
Akbar.
peace, Admiral Akbar.
I read an article
It's a
today by Brandon Winerdy, a guy I know that is big into Star Wars, as a lot of people are, and he mentions this too. He writes that Akbar's death is nearly off screen, definitely not highlighted enough for an original trilogy mainstay. And the article's good because he talks a lot about like, I guess, what it means to be a Star Wars fan and hope and what it means to like have stories from your childhood. But he kind of lost me talking about like Akbar as an original trilogy mainstay. I never got the obsession with him because he's never on screen for more than 5 seconds at a time, and he has like 2 lines, I guess. Like this
He kind of explains the whole Death Star run.
Okay.
You can see here.
What does that do to motivate the plot? Like that doesn't make him actually a character. And this is a great example of where I really lose the Star Wars fan base. Like I do not get why you actually care about Admiral Akbar, except that reference. He just reminds you that like them putting the fact that he was in that movie was just there to remind you of the old movies and give you a little rush of nostalgia. Remind you that you did like the previous movies and hope that those same emotions will somehow translate to that scene. Like I just think that's so cheap that he is even.
Okay, I don't disagree with any of that, but I don't care.
Okay.
Excuse me, Admiral Akbar is the greatest stellar navigator known to the rebellion.
Okay. All right.
Also, how is
I don't like being proved right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I
Known to
love
the
Admiral
shrimp
Akbar, though.
people.
The shrimp people.
The calamaris, the calamari.
Mon Calamari.
Are they really called that?
Calamari.
Yes, they're really called that.
That's awesome. All right, I like it more now. More Akbar. Oh,
Don't forget Mon.
Now you get it.
some marinara sauce. That sounds delicious.
Your point is very valid, but I think there are certain ways they can cater to the fans that are better than others, and that could have been a good one. That's all.
That would have been sick. Would have been sick. Not that it wasn't. Man, that was a great scene. Yeah.
I'm glad that Kylo didn't pull the trigger on those torpedoes there.
Oh, very crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. Might have already said that, but
so I just wanted to bring this one thing up. Remember when Force lesson number 1 between Luke and Rey, when she was reaching out to the Force, she was like, I feel the cold and the wet and whatever. And they were showing nature shots of like time lapses and like little shots of the island. Did anybody think that was a little out of place?
I thought that was a really interesting, unique, great way to show all that.
Yeah, I bought it on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different than showing some slow motion shots in the opening battle scene. I thought those were cool. We've never seen that before. It's just a different way to tell the story, but it didn't feel out of place.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that I would have rather had them leave those things she was describing up to your imagination rather than showing like nature as the Force. But that's just me. What do you think, Canaan?
I liked that part, and I do. I mean, I see nature as the Force, so.
Are you wearing your Kuiper?
Canaan sees Force in real life. So.
I always have my crystal on me.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's transition into kind of the final talking points. Do you think that J.J. Abrams is capable of stringing together this trilogy, which I feel like this movie kind of ends, like this could be 2 movies and it could be like kind of like a full story of these characters, and it's kind of hard to see where they're going in episode 9. Do you think that JJ is going to be able to finish out a whole trilogy of movies in the next one?
Well, he has to.
He has to, yeah.
He's going to get paid a lot to do it, so he'll give it a shot. But the chances of having the same experience and the same story are shot to hell with this last movie, and maybe with the last one too, because the theming just isn't as strong. There's glimmers of a really cool idea with doing away with the Jedi, or what it means, like what a hero is when the lines between good and evil aren't as clear. Because like what people liked about Luke Skywalker, from what I can tell, was that that was part of what he had was dealing with the darkness and understanding darkness as part of yourself, and trying to learn what it is to fight evil in that situation. But the thing about Star Wars is that it's always been so clearly themed with good and evil, and the problem with this last movie is that they dabbled with so many other things and dragged the movie on too long, and it's just not nearly as potent. Maybe there could be a strong finale, but I don't see this new trilogy aging well at all.
Okay, seriously. The First Order is wiped out completely. The Resistance is at 12 people. 12 people.
Yeah.
Where are we possibly going here?
Generic
Are
allies.
we going to these kid Jedi that we're seeing at the end of the movie? Is that the direction that we're going? Because that makes me kind of excited, but that is like the beginning of a new trilogy, it seems like, which obviously this new Rian Johnson trilogy is probably going that direction. So I don't see how we can possibly take this and do something cool with the first 2 movies. I seriously don't. Like there's just nothing carrying over. Snoke is dead. Kylo is the main bad guy, but he's conflicted. So it's like we don't So he like our hope of him coming over to the good side, or if some of us are hoping for that, is kind of like, well, how is that going to happen? Like, what's he going to be fighting against in order for that to happen? Because he's like the main. It's just going to be an inner conflict, and that doesn't really have much that doesn't really lead to filmmaking. You have to have an inner conflict and an outer conflict, and right now, the outer conflict is Kylo Ren and a little band of stormtroopers and walkers versus 12 resistance members, and the only 3 that we care about are Leia, Rey, and Poe, because Rose and Finn suck, and Leia's gonna be dead. So what the fuck?
Well, the only solution, they're gonna build Starkiller Base number 2.
I'm going to be the optimist here, and I'm going to hope that they're going to impress us with something new, and that 2 years from now, we're all going to walk out of the theater and say, wow, they did it.
I have faith in JJ.
Camp. I like you, Joe.
Thanks.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't mean to be such a hater, but I've just been like,
They'll think of something. I mean, they've had this trilogy in mind. Like, it's
okay, well, clearly they didn't.
They had the trilogy in mind with Carrie Fisher alive. That's going to cause some real problems because Han Solo is their focus in The Force Awakens. Luke Skywalker is their focus in this movie, and Princess Leia is going to be the focus in the next movie. And so they're really going to have to rewrite the whole movie from what they had in mind before for the end of the trilogy. Going to be a hard job, and my guess is that they already have it written at this point, considering how long it takes to make the movie. But
I actually don't think they have it written yet.
Oh, really?
Because JJ was only hired on relatively recently. He's got to write it.
What a weird. He's doing.
He's developing 9, and they booted him. So,
Oh, yeah.
starting from scratch relatively recently. It doesn't come out till Christmas 2019, so they have some time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Can I throw out 2 things that I took away as being kind of weird? That will probably rub against the traditional Star Wars fan.
Sure.
The first is, I filed this under bad and doesn't make sense. I had 3 categories of takeaways: good, bad but makes sense, and bad but doesn't make sense. Episode or part 1 of that list is the use of puppets. The only reason I can think of is budget shortages for why the hell you would use puppets. Because the entire rest of the characters in the movie are CGI.
Who's a puppet?
They just ran out of money.
And the Force
Porgs.
the Force Foxes are puppets too.
What?
The
No,
Crystal
not.
Foxes.
They are not.
Some of those are puppets.
They
Or
Okay,
I
well,
guess animatronic. Isn't that the same thing as a puppet?
they are so CGI from everything.
Hold on.
All of my memories of
We
them.
lost Mike.
We lost Mike.
Oh God.
Tim
But
on
Jacob-
our live stream is saying puppets were important. Puppets make it more realistic.
Yeah, but no, they obviously.
I didn't-
Mike, do you read me?
Mike, are you back?
Yes. Can you rewind to puppets?
Yes, I was saying that they had CGI for everything else, but they brought puppets in for Yoda and the Porgs.
And the foxes. I know that the foxes are puppets.
Okay,
I didn't
Some
even
of
know
them.
that the
The
foxes
foxes-
are puppets.
they are and they aren't, because the scene where Chewie's eating one. He's got one on the rotisserie. The ones standing by, they're super puppety, and maybe there's some done over, but like you got to do it all or you got to do none. And so that it's another example of them just trying to stroke you guys' fandoms.
Stroke our what?
Okay.
Fandoms.
Can I just take this opportunity? Do you want to finish your point about puppets?
That's the whole thing.
That was the whole thing.
Before I go into my next one, is very short.
Okay, and then I want to go right into mine.
And I'm sure it'll play. I'm sure
it goes off this.
I will.
Mike, do you want to join? Do you want to leave and rejoin? How's your connection?
Who, Mike?
Mike.
I'm not
Mike
doing anything.
can't hear us.
Mike, check. Can you hear me?
Mike, check 1, 2.
Mic check.
Mike. All right, let's let him
He's
rejoin.
gone. He's gone. Don't lose your point, Jacob.
YouTube.
Try not to lose
I
mine.
got him and the YouTube listeners. This is the kind of candid technical difficulties that you get when you watch the live stream.
Yeah.
All right, Tim says Jim Henson, the Muppets company, is legendary with helping make cool-looking aliens in sci-fi. Look at Puppets in old trilogy versus how bad the CGI Redux versions were in the touched-up old trilogy. That is very true. The special editions were pretty awful.
But you can have good puppets and have them still be out of place. I think it's a distraction when you set up your movie to be CGI and then you throw in some puppets. Next point is much shorter. I don't know if I'll pay for another ticket to a movie where they expect me to believe these soldiers are doing military computing work on straight up light bright terminals. These stupidest looking computer screens, they never ever move. They only do that because it's how it was done in the past trilogy, but that makes absolutely zero sense. It's as if technology didn't develop in the 60 years it was or whatever since the last trilogy. So I don't know. They walk into the new base and they pull out this huge suitcase and they fold it open and flip the light switch. It's the most low tech prop I've ever seen. It is so it takes me out of the movie so hard. Anyway, those are my prop complaints.
Jacob, you are going to buy a ticket to another movie like that.
You're probably right.
I guarantee it.
You're assuming that they're not wearing high-tech contacts where they're seeing augmented reality on those.
This is true. I will admit that. I will admit that much.
That's a good assumption.
But if we're just making up stuff, I actually don't have something made up off the spot, but never mind. What were you going to say, Canaan?
All right. I was going to kind of go off of the puppets thing and the
Yeah,
cords and the animals. I love animals, right? I probably love animals like the second to only Star Wars. And there were too many animals in this movie. It made me so angry at points. Have you ever seen a fox hang out with a group of humans?
So weird.
Or be intelligent enough to run into a... Why are the foxes running into the base with the... Why are they just escaping the battle scene? Like,
so weird.
There's... that was like very forced to me, and I just was... like the whole time, there's so many animals of every single type of animal that's in there. And I don't really have a problem with the diversity of the animals or even all of the animals. I like them. There's just too many of them. And I did appreciate how, the scene on the casino planet with the racetrack, how it kind of shows like the realities of animal captivity, and I thought that was cool. Like I get that. That's a good thing to show in a movie. It's a good thing to show to people in like in a fictional story something that really happens and get them to think about it. But just too many animals. Oh my gosh.
Tim says foxes are being domesticated in Russia. Source Nat Geo.
No, I saw that. I saw that article recently.
Yeah, I agree. Way too many animals. I couldn't go through this episode and not bring up Captain Phasma. So
I forgot
last
about
episode I talked about how she's the worst character in The Force Awakens, how they needed to justify her in this movie or else not put her in here at all. But they marketed her the whole time, and then they just stick her in this stupid battle with Finn to try to climax their stupid rival that she has with Finn for no reason that they've explained well enough. And it's just so unnecessary, so stupid, and that this movie just makes Phasma even more pointless. Did you know she has her own novel called Phasma or something? They made a book about her, and then they do her no justice in these movies, and she's the worst character, not developed in any way. It makes me so angry.
Yeah, that was rough.
I
Uh,
was playing applause for you, David. I think that's so spot on.
Oh, that was applause?
I couldn't hear it. Never mind.
That was applause.
Stupid.
I heard it.
It sounded like static.
Yeah, it sounded like a waterfall. I would have rather had another scene with Rose than any scene with Phasma.
Ooh, it's a
I
tough
know.
choice.
Phasma is the Jar Jar Binks of the
Why?
trilogy.
How did Phasma even survive? She should have died on Starkiller
At least
Base.
Rose is good looking.
What?
What?
Jacob,
Phasma has a mask.
wait. Are you for real?
I don't
What were
think
you
so.
talking about earlier, Canaan?
I was talking about what you were talking. Okay, first of all, Phasma should have died on Starkiller Base.
Yeah, exactly.
Hands down. No questions asked. Second of all, Rose is attractive?
No, Phasma totally should have died. You're totally right.
What?
Yeah.
No, yes, she should have died on. You're missing my second part of the question.
No, I think we're in total agreement, actually.
No, do you think Rose is attractive?
Yeah, Phasma, the worst.
Okay. Let's wrap
It's not like a diss. It's just like I couldn't focus on that because of how much I hated her character and her bad acting.
Yeah. Let's each give a 30-second to a minute kind of closing thoughts on the movie, and we'll close out this episode. Mike, can you hear us?
I think so. Where
Where the heck are you?
Are you in a tent?
I moved to there's like bunk beds behind me.
All right. We're gonna do closing statements, 30 seconds to a minute, just your final thoughts on the movie, okay? And let's start with Jacob.
Pretty good movie. The highlights were super great. I don't think we talked enough about that Lightspeed kamikaze. One of the coolest things I've ever seen in a movie. My jaw was dropped, and that and the opening fight scene on that IMAX screen with the sound. We didn't even talk about the music, Canaan. The sounds were insane. The music was great. There's a lot of spectacle to really enjoy in this movie, but I don't think it's going to age that well. Like I said earlier, the story's a little weak. It's spread out over a really long amount of time, and you're not going to get that really force-rooted story, struggle between good and evil, between man and self. So for that reason, I don't really see a rewatch in my future, but the ticket was worth it. And I guess if you want to be able to like join in the spoiler-soaked group text that your friends have all started, it might be worth that for the ticket price too. But I'm less excited to rewatch this movie than any that I can really think of off the top of my head, save Attack of the Clones.
Alrighty. Joe, how about you go next?
I read a Reddit post this weekend that essentially said nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. And I think that is a testament to how much people want to read into these movies and dissect them and try and put their own plot into the movie. And for me, I really am trying not to do that. And I enjoyed the movie. When I walked out of it, I enjoyed it. And it wasn't until I kind of like started talking to everybody and everybody started bashing it that I even questioned that. So I love the movie and I love the places that they took it. Obviously, there were huge holes in it, but as a cinema experience, I thought that it was a pleasurable time. I laughed at the jokes. I enjoyed the porgs.
You were pleasured.
I was pleasured by porgs and
Rose
and whatever other aliens, foxes.
Okay, Canaan, how about your thoughts?
I have just never been so conflicted about a movie in my life. I literally haven't. When I left the theater, I really, really enjoyed it. Now, after talking about it for a whole weekend and discussing it with a number of people, I hate it, and I just want to. I just want to see what happens with. I mean, I'm still excited to see what happens. Obviously, I'm still a Star Wars fan. I'm never gonna give up on Star Wars, no matter how many unfortunate, storytelling decisions are made. It is my favorite fictional realm, and this is an unfortunate chapter. And I think that a lot of that has to do with either personal or corporate liberties that were taken with characters that have been established for so long and shouldn't have been messed with. And yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, just stick to the originals. If you really are a true Star Wars fan, just stick to the originals.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, final statements. Oh, nope, he can't hear us.
Is he in the
All
chat?
right. I don't know. He didn't answer. I'll text him real quick.
You can always have them record it out or whatever. Just throw it in.
Mike, we can't hear you.
Canaan, you just need to join me in my optimism.
Dude, no, half of me is still there, and I will always hold on to that for Star Wars. I will always hold on to the 6-year-old me that loves to see the next Star Wars movie. But if I'm being honest, that movie was stupid.
Yeah.
And the fact is, it's just so unbelievable.
Mike, test.
Dave, can you hear me?
Yep. I did.
Is that a yes?
I heard you.
Can you give your final 30-second to a minute thoughts on the movie?
Sure. Hopefully you can hear me. As I said at the beginning, I definitely enjoyed it. I saw it a second time. Probably won't go see it a third. To me, it falls sort of in line with Return of the Jedi, in the sense that in Jedi, there are some parts of the story that I like and some that I'll just fast forward through. And I think that's how this one will probably be in the future. I really enjoyed what we're calling the A story with Rey and Luke and Kylo. Other parts are just kind of hit or miss, but as a whole, the production design, the beautiful cinematography, which I don't think we even talked about, the incredible score. I mean, just these iconic themes throughout, and even a couple new ones. As a whole, I think it was all right. Closing.
We lost him right there at the end.
I think we got him.
I think
Oh, there he is.
I think I'm recording separately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give my final thoughts. Coming out of the theater, kind of like Canaan, I was so stoked. Great ending. I think that was a great send off for Luke. As a whole, I think it's a good movie, not a great movie. I think the music, the cinematography, everything added up is awesome. I hated the comedy. I hated Finn and Rose's storylines, and those are just parts that the comedy's throughout the whole movie, so it's not just something I can ignore. As Mike said, I'll probably fast forward through Finn and Rose's 20 or so minutes that they have in future viewings. I think a lot of the plot holes or bad writing is something that we are probably over analyzing. As a casual fan who's not so into Star Wars like I am, I don't think that most people would really notice, especially just seeing it once. But I don't know. I like it, but I'm not looking forward to episode 9 as much as I was looking forward to episode 8. So I think that's kind of a downer, which came out of this movie. But I am excited to see it again. I've only seen it once, and I have my ticket for 2 nights from now. So I will see it again, and I'm sure we'll talk more about the movie over the coming months. But with that, thank you, Canaan and Mike, for returning as guests on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, Joe and Jacob, as always, for joining.
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it.
You're most welcome.
And thank you to the live chat on YouTube. We had a lot more interaction than usual. That was pretty fun. Shout out to Tim Witham and his dad, who apparently said, "These guys are pissed."
You can say that again.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we will see you guys probably after the new year in January. So in 2018. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say bye, Canaan.
Bye.
I'll do it for Jared. So long.
Cool. Okay, you can stop your recordings.
No, I think that was fire.
Yeah.
I've decided that I'm not convinced that you guys actually like this movie. Like,
I know. Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like, yeah, when I listen back, it's gonna sound like I hated it, but I did have a pretty good time. But I got so bored sometimes.
yeah. See, I love
Yeah.
the movie. What were you gonna say?
I said it was not very well paced. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like
I was never bored, but I was also so pumped for it. I might be bored a little the second viewing. I don't know.
just based on like how much we bashed it in this podcast, and then at the end we were all like, it was good. I just think it was kind of funny, but
Yeah. I mean,
I just
it's just a lot easier to talk about
yeah.
or bad because they were so blatant. It's harder to kind of describe, like what worked.
Mhm.
But
there was okay, and Joe, you brought up a good point in the chat. There's so much good stuff about the movie, and we didn't really talk about a lot of the cool stuff. Like there were so many cool transition shots and just like awesome. The cinematography was really amazing, and the effects were obviously great, but it doesn't make you can have all the best filmmaking in the world and not a movie that doesn't feel like Star Wars, and it's just falls flat.
did everyone save your audio?
Yeah, I
Yes.
sent it.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Is this episode 26?
Yeah, 26.
We are killing the game.
But Mike's the only one that saw it twice, right?
What?
Yeah.
You're the only one that's seen it twice, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it on
Just read a-
Friday, Saturday.
I just read a Slash Film article that was like titled Star Wars doesn't care if Star Wars fans hate it or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna read some quotes from that, except for I couldn't hear you. So
Yeah. I just think that feel like this is a transition into the Disney-fied Star Wars even more than The Force Awakens was, and it's going to be like this for the next 20 years, and we're just going to have to get used to it or be depressed and hate it.
yeah, pretty much.
Is there like any
He said some really.
as to what Ryan Johnson's trilogy is going to be about?
No, he hasn't
No.
even started on it yet.
Gosh, he's
Not
die
excited for
before he
that.
finishes his last movie.
Fuck that. That man does not deserve a Star Wars trilogy.
I thought that the Luke dying was like the perfect closing, and then cutting to the kid with the broomstick was just like very unnecessary second ending.
Seriously, like what the hell are we doing?
Did he force?
Why
push that
end
broom?
with that? Yes,
Yeah.
he force pulled the broom.
I'm not gonna lie, I like that scene.
Do we know that? It seems like Star Wars has like the automatic broom technology. It was not. It genuinely was not my first thought when I watched that scene. I thought he just like had an automatic broom.
Oh my gosh. Automatic broom.
That would have been a very pointless scene then.
Yeah, no. Gosh.
I don't know. The point was that it showed there's hope in the next generation, which I think is a not fun tease for a sequel.
With automatic
but-
broom tech.
Well, just like look to the children for the future. It's like, no, children are stupid. They
I
don't
just
know
think
war.
that, like the people that were so obsessed with the Phantom Menace when it came out because they were so stoked and they were kind of blind to all the crappy parts about it. I feel like that's how I felt when I first came out of the theater, and then I realized all the bad things about it. So like we're pretty down on it right now, but I don't know. It'll probably mellow out
Yeah.
in a couple months. So
Yeah, but like if there's one thing I can't get over, it's just if a movie is a chore. That's why I'm not so stoked about watching this one again. But if it's on TV, I will drop whatever I'm doing to watch the hyperspeed kamikaze.
If it's on TV.
and the Rey and Kylo fight.
Yep.
So awesome.
And anytime they're talking, Kylo with his shirt off.
Mm.
Anytime Rose is on the screen.
All right, am I the only person that had a problem with the swords that break apart?
To become chains?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Kind of cool. But those characters were no different than like what's his name? Six Arms guy. I can't remember.
Grievous.
And Grievous's bodyguards, they just had those like light sticks.
Right.
Six-arm guy would be the guy from the Clone Wars that Obi-Wan goes to talk to in the...
Dexter.
Yeah. I love that guy. What would you guys rate this?
Cloner.
If you had to put this movie like in order versus the other movies, where would you put it?
Oh, we should have done that. I have to see it again. I can't yet.
Because I would go 5, 4, 6, 3, and then this one.
The Sith
Is
is.
Rogue One not allowed to be in this?
It is.
I'd probably put Rogue One just ahead of this one.
Yeah. I'll probably go 5, Rogue One, 3,
Damn.
7, 8.
What, dude? What? No Return of the Jedi in the top? Wow.
I don't know, dude. I clearly don't understand this Star Wars thing.
Oh man.
I mean, Empire is definitely awesome, but it's difficult for me to choose number one between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
It'd be really hard for me to rank mine. I'm trying to rank mine right now. I have no.
Tim said 4, 5, 8, 7. Rogue 6. Rogue is equal to 6.
What do you want? Wait, you put an 8 and 2? No, what'd you start with?
That was Tim with them. He said 4, 5, 8, 7. Rogue.
Wow, Tim hates the prequels.
No Return of the Jedi. Again.
He put Rogue equal to Rogue in
that's
fourth to last.
Yeah, that's rough.
5, 8.
Yeah, I go 5, 6, 4, 3.
I'm gonna have to go 6, 5, 3, 4, 7, 1, 8, 2.
Jeez,
I've got 4, 6, 5. Rogue One. 1, 3, 2.
You like 1 more than 3? That surprises me.
He likes 1 more than 7 or 8.
I love Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace is awesome.
We watched episode 7 again last night with my wife's parents because they hadn't seen it since it was in theaters.
Yep, it's a more solid movie than 8 overall.
Yeah, it's definitely a more entertaining movie than 8.
8's highs are higher, but like
I think 8 takes much bigger risks, and they don't all hit.
Can you guys see my video right now?
No.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
No. Yes.
Yes.
you see this
Why are you
sick
looking
poster
down?
I have?
Oh. Whenever your video comes on, it's just a still
talk,
image of you looking down.
Oh, dang it!
And then there's one of someone behind you, like a dark figure.
Shadowy apparition.
Yeah, what Canaan said. All right, I'm going to sign off. It's my bedtime, which means I have to go play a little bit of Zelda before I go to bed.
Have fun.
I will.
Okay, thanks. Bye, Jacob.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Thank Canaan and Mike for joining us. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I thought this was a great episode, and I can't wait to hear the final product. Bye. Woohoo!
Bye.
All right, I'm out of here too because I can't even really hear you.
All right, later.
Okay. Bye.
Later, Mike.
Bye.
No, it happened to my internet.
Got my
Joe,
sick
I can see your
poster.
poster now.
Dude, this poster's so dope. It's a Phantom Menace poster. It's got Anakin with Darth Vader shadow. I think it's sick.
Joe, there's 2.
Joe, there's 2 of you in the.
Yeah, I know. I had to pull up my phone.
Oh my god. Oh, I love it.
More to go around.
Joe, how's Iowa? Is it fun?
Yeah, it's great. I literally just hang out and watch movies and eat food. So
I'm so jealous of a Christmas break.
yeah, I don't do anything. Are you going home this weekend, I assume?
Yeah, we're driving back to St. Louis Saturday morning.
Are you going to come back for that week in between that and New Year's?
So then we go to Florida for a trip with my family.
Oh, right.
On the 26th or 27th, and we get back to St. Louis on New Year's Eve afternoon.
Cool.
So I'll see you then. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Canaan, have you met Joe's girlfriend?
It's the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, spring break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was there.
Canaan, are you and Serena still dating?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been awesome. She went and saw The Last Jedi with me, and we did a marathon leading up to the release. So we watched like a Star Wars movie every day for so many days. Oh my gosh!
So man, that would really give you decent perspective on the other movies. I also The Force Awakens in preparation.
Yeah, it did give perspective, and it did unfortunately not allow me to see right away that what I was watching felt very different from the previous 7 movies.
Did you watch?
I'm surprised you took such a nosedive on your appreciation.
No,
You said 9 originally.
I'm just frustrated with the directing, man. I'm frustrated with the fact that one person, or even just a group of people, or even a corporation such as Disney, can call that many shots for a story that's been established for 40 years. 40 years now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. It's just a lot of things that
I feel like
things that I felt like were just messed up, man. Like it all goes down to the very beginning, and just give us a break between the 2 films to set up a little bit of a better story.
Yeah, Disney, I feel like, has their directors on a short leash, very short, and I hate it. Like, I'm sure Jon Favreau, who was supposed to do it at 9, and then they switched it to JJ, he was probably trying to do too much that was not Disney enough, and so they cut him. And I'm sure Ryan Johnson, that extra 30 minutes of his, that could have been more stuff that we would actually want to see, but it's not the footage that Disney wanted to cater to the most people, which is the stupid comedic moments, apparently, and focusing on diverse cast members like Finn and Rose, even though they suck as movie characters, and just so Disney-fied in so many ways. It's just a bad sign.
Yeah. See, and that's kind of the main reason of my dismay right now, is it does seem to be an omen of what's to come. Because why would they do anything any different? I mean, it's not like they're gonna make that much. Even if the Star Wars fans fall off, that's not gonna make that much of a difference.
No,
because now it's like, okay, all my friends have seen these movies now. This is like something that I've been a nerd about my entire life. I've seen every single movie, been crazy about it my whole life, obviously, and now everyone has seen it. And it's like, that was not always the case. That wasn't even the case as little as like 5 years ago, before the whole Disney thing got announced.
Jacob didn't watch the original trilogy until like 2 years ago.
Right.
End of college.
Right. And yeah, see, that's like right there. It's like, I hate the Marvel movies. I hate the comic book movies.
I know.
They've been so bad for a while now. And if that's the future of Star Wars, I'm gonna be like really, really disappointed. And simply because of the fact that it's just it would just be a wasted franchise. Like, it has so much possibility. As far as a fictional realm, it's obviously one of the most captivating that's ever been created. and to just go and create these little theme park movies, it's just not going to be fun for me. I need to be challenged more.
Yep, the Marvel movies are just like soulless action movies that are fun. That's about it. And I feel like that's what they're trying to do with Star Wars. Like every single cool, serious moment, they added in a little comedic something, and it just like, why are you so afraid to be serious about this? And I mean, I said last week in the podcast, like my main fears were that they were gonna focus, that they're gonna put in too much comedy, and that they weren't gonna take it seriously, and they're gonna be afraid to be serious, and that's exactly what happened. As well as my fears about Captain Phasma and Finn and Rose, and all my fears I talked about a week ago came true, as well as some of the things I wanted with the Force, and the stuff that mattered was good, but like I don't know if the good outweighs the bad.
Dude, it just sucks. I have already seen so many things go down the drain, so seeing Star Wars go down the drain wouldn't really surprise me at this point, but there's certain things that you hold on to hope for, and in some ways I can hold on to hope for Star Wars, but in a lot of ways this movie has already just like crushed a lot of what I did hope for.
They tricked us. They came
It
back.
It seemed like a trick.
The Force Awakens was just, like the bait on the hook, because The Force Awakens was like nothing like the prequels as far as the stupidness in them. And so they wanted to get back the original fans, but then once episode 8 comes out, they have
go right back to it.
But they go right back to what they did with the prequels. It's like it's happening all over again.
And now I'm 26 instead of 12.
Yeah, so you can see actually notice. Yeah.
I'm reading that article, that Slash Film article that Mike sent. It's pretty interesting.
What are some of the main points?
Just that, like, basically Rian Johnson wants to burn Star Wars to the ground, not because he harbors ill will toward it, but because he loves it. He loves it so much he wants to cleanse the garden and allow something fresh and new to grow. They're not concerned what you, the moviegoer and fan, think. It wants to challenge you and make you question what Star Wars is and what it should be.
See, and to Rian Johnson, I say that is not that. You were given that right by Disney, a corporation who obviously owns the rights to the story, but Star Wars fans did not give you the right to raise the franchise to do what you want to do with it, Rian Johnson. And it really makes me angry that he gets a full trilogy, actually, because I don't think he deserves it.
I also like this part. It's easy to imagine Rian Johnson watching The Force Awakens and being thrilled. It's a thrilling movie. It does that. It's also easy to imagine Rian Johnson watching The Force Awakens and noting, this Supreme Leader Snoke guy kind of sucks. I should do something about that. Which he does. He kills him.
Yeah, with no consideration of like
how to continue from there.
The answers to the mysteries that we actually cared about,
Yeah.
Which in some ways I like, and in some ways it does make me upset.
I've decided that I just have to wait until all the 9th movie has been made. And maybe after Rian Johnson's trilogy, and then I'll know.
Rian Johnson's trilogy is just going to be like superhero Star Wars.
Yeah, it's going to be like that.
We don't know.
I think that at this point. that's what we can expect.
And it's gonna be about the broom kid.
Might be, but that's how Anakin started.
Oh, that was a great acting by little Annie.
Yeah, and great way that turned out for the galaxy too. Because he turned into Darth Vader.
Yeah. You guys know what I think after I watch it again on Wednesday.
All right.
Are you seeing it again, Canaan?
At this point, I will probably see it one more time, but I'm not sure when. And I don't think I will see it after that until it comes out. I don't want to see it more than I saw The Force Awakens 4 times in theaters.
Yeah.
And that was out of sheer excitement.
I saw it 3 times in theaters.
And just can't believe it, man. I just had so much. I had expectations, man.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I could see it being a problem, except for the fact that my expectations would have made for a better film, arguably by all standards.
Every plot that we read last week that we wrote were better than the plot from this movie, I think.
I will say that my plot from last week was very short and semi-weak.
Yeah, I think yours is the weakest, besides Jared, who just repeated The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to just copy the Empire and make the new characters. I didn't want to think too critically about it at that point. I wanted to go along for the ride. And I did go along for the ride, and when I was on it, I thought it was really fun. Who knows? Maybe I'll love it when I see it again. Maybe Mike Mike is right. Maybe once you are aware of certain things that are coming up, it's not going to bother you, but at the same time, I can't imagine.
I feel like I might notice more now.
Yeah. If anything, I feel like I will just become more bored of the drawn out parts and want more to see more of Kylo and Rey and Luke. And I guess we'll see the deleted scenes, I guess.
Yeah, but we can't put any hope into that because the deleted scenes from The Force Awakens was less than a couple minutes worth.
Right.
And they weren't good.
Man.
All right. Well, I need to go to sleepy now.
Yeah.
All right. Good hanging with you guys.
And we'll see you later.
Talk soon.
Yup. Canaan, I'm still trying to move to Denver, so let me know if you find any jobs for me.
All right, I will, dude. I'll keep an eye out. Yo, dude,